as my role as sort of the chief fiscal advisor of the Senate, that's what I'm recommending and to the Senate, and I know that's, you know, the House of Representatives, everybody that works on the budget understands this, and this will be the challenge because there's always a tendency just to avoid decisions, put off decisions that need to be made because you have this federal money, but that's just going to create a gigantic problem in a very short order of time. I mean, we'll be sitting here a year from now with a bigger problem. So cuts, I'm sure, are going to be made. Once cuts are made, they will not likely be restored. I mean, we're talking about a very significant, probably at the end of 2011, it's a significantly different size of state government than we had going in, and only because that we've lost so much revenue. Again, absent a big state tax increase, there's going to be a smaller state government than existed before.
So there are some opportunities here. I mean, it's not all bad news. Obviously, there's more than what many consider our fair share of bad news, but there are some opportunities here for us to look at state government, maybe to look at what really is a priority, what we should be doing, and then look at what we can do and see if we can balance that to some degree. And maybe our state government is not going to be as big as it has been in the past and provide as many services as it has in the past.
Right. I don't think there's any question we can't afford the size of state government we had. The question for you as a senator and for the public to understand is what services and programs that we have in place now could we do without? And that's an easy question to conceptualize, but then when you get down to the details, it's much more difficult because it's a program that I think is important, another person may think is not important, but this is what the setting of priorities is through the state budget process is, in my opinion, the number one function of the legislature. That passing a state budget is the thing that the members of the Michigan legislature have to do every year. And through that budget, priorities are established. And especially when you're downsizing, like the state will be doing, the budget is a critically important piece of establishing those priorities. That's where they're going to be established. So likely state employees will be laid off. That's already happening to some degree. State services will be impacted. Maybe state programs will be eliminated. Probably is going to impact on the tuition that people pay to send their children to colleges and universities. It's going to impact on the amount of money that K-12 schools have. It's going to impact on the number of people we have incarcerated in the prisons. So down across the board, it's going to have impact. There's less people working in the Senate Fiscal Agency today than there was just a few months ago because we've received a budget cut and we've had to downsize. So nobody is immune, and it is a difficult process, but it's one that'll have to be done to balance the budget.
And so as we go forward, I think one of the most important messages that we can share today is that government will be downsized. You know, as we looked at, we've been in 2 days worth of meetings with you going over not only the large picture, but we've actually looked at all the budgets from, you know, the most minuscule service that we provide that's obviously important to somebody to the larger services that we provide like education and higher ed. I met with one of my community colleges this morning, and actually they're going through the same thing. They are not, to their credit, they're planning ahead. They are not anticipating that they will be getting more money from the state of Michigan. And they're going through a reorganization literally from top to bottom and looking at what they don't need to do anymore and what their core mission is. They see their core mission as educating students and turning out students that can get jobs in the next century. And I said, that's what you should be doing. So I think we're all going to have to do that, and it's not going to be easy.
It's never easy to downsize.
Whoa, no. And while we're talking about that, we cannot end our program today without talking about the automobile industry. you know, Michigan has made cars since cars were made. We're the proud automobile state. You know, I mean, you bring up Michigan and you think of automobiles, and you know, you think of the beautiful convertibles and the coupes and everything else driving across our landscape. And we're not making as many cars as we used to, and our automobile industry isn't in the same shape as it was before. So can we, in the last couple of minutes
let
here,
me give you just some sort of startling numbers. I think people obviously know that the auto industry in this state is downsized, and maybe they don't understand the extent of it. And just a couple quick numbers. In the mid-1990s, the big three, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, sold about 11 million cars annually across the country, and a significant number of those were produced in Michigan. Our forecast for 2010 is that sales of those three companies will be around 4 million units. So from 11 million to 4 million in not a very long period of time. Our employment in the auto industry, this is just hourly employment at the big three companies and the major suppliers, was 365,000 in 2000. Our estimate at the end of 2010 in this forecast we just completed will be about 78,000 jobs. So we've gone from 365,000 hourly auto jobs, high-paying jobs, to under 80,000 over a decade. We will have lost close to 20% of the total employment in the state over a decade, and we've lost almost 80% of the auto hourly jobs. But these factors have led to, you know, the significant downsizing of state revenues and the state budget. The big uncertainty today is the bankruptcy of Chrysler Corporation, and almost the certain bankruptcy, likely next week, of General Motors. What does that mean? How long will it last? Will it be this so-called good bankruptcy, which people hope? No, I don't think anybody knows for sure. We have 500,000 families in this state who are deriving a large portion of their income from pensions from these auto companies. And we don't know what bankruptcy will mean for pensions, for their health insurance. So there is so much uncertainty today, and obviously people are very concerned, especially people that are losing their jobs, people that are relying on pensions from Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. And what does this all mean to their future? And until this gets sorted out, we're going to have a difficult time in this state. But I think once, ending on sort of a positive note, once we hit the bottom of the auto industry, I think which I don't believe will be the demise of General Motors and Chrysler and only Ford left standing. I hope all three companies, certainly General Motors and Ford, I believe, will come out the other end. I think it's less certainty about Chrysler at this point. But once that happens and the national economy starts growing, and I think it will by the end of this calendar year, there's no reason that we can't begin to slowly turn things around in Michigan. Instead of losing jobs for 10 consecutive years, we can start gaining some jobs. Some of them might be in the auto industry, but they'll be in other sectors of the economy as well. And I think that's sort of the light at the end of the tunnel that we see, that the state economy by the end of 2010, the worst will be over.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. We really appreciate you being here today. We appreciate the information that you've shared for us. And we appreciate the fact that you did end on a lighter note by saying that there is hope at the end of this, and we hope to be at the end of it soon and moving ahead. So thank you for watching today.